Going live. It hasn't gone live yet. Good evening, everybody. This is Gertrude Mache here in beautiful Wellington, New Zealand, on a winter's night on the 2nd of July. Welcome, welcome, welcome to this amazing webinar where I bring to you how to speak on stage, get more gigs, and even get a TEDx talk. Few things you need to know before we get started. Number one, you all need to know how to find these events and opportunities. We all need to know how to pitch ourselves, especially to TEDx organizers, and know exactly what they're looking for. We need to learn how to advertise online and market and promote ourselves. I'm going to help teach you how to create your own events and how to impress those event planners and organizations that are currently looking for people to present, especially online. So, thank you, first of all, for showing up. I really appreciate you being on this call. I want you to participate as actively as you possibly can. Ask questions, put your questions in the chat. If I don't address them immediately, I will address them in the end, or I will get back in touch with you with a follow-up video where I answer all those questions as well. And feel free to throw in any comments, anything that strikes you as being interesting. I need your feedback. I need to know if I'm delivering the appropriate content that can actually help you take your speaking game from where you are to where you want to go. So take lots of notes and make sure that you have no distractions. Switch off your cell phone. I actually will do the same with mine. If you've got little children, husbands, cats, dogs, just find some time to sink into this knowledge because I've got a lot of things to share. Now, we all have an opportunity right now, especially with COVID-19. COVID-19 has given the whole world an opportunity that is absolutely magical. I was looking at the word crisis the other day, and the Chinese used two brushstrokes to write the word crisis. One brushstroke stands for danger, and the other one stands for opportunity. So in a crisis, be aware of the danger, but also recognize the opportunity. So why am I telling you this? You know, since we had our lockdown here in New Zealand almost 4 months ago, I started going online. I started trying to connect with random strangers on Facebook, on LinkedIn, on Instagram. And I have found that I have made more friends online right now than I have ever done before. So everybody is on the internet. This is a massive, massive opportunity. And did you know that right now it is the cheapest that you can advertise, especially on Facebook, to really get through to your target market with your message, with your product, with your coaching, with your speaking? So advertising is very, very cheap. And it's a real good time for you to build your databases, connect with people, and expand your reach. So grab this COVID-19 opportunity, see it for what it is, and let's have fun with it. So in order for you to learn how to speak on stage and get more gigs and get on the TED platform, you need to know where to find those opportunities, like I said. Pitch yourself, how to create your personal branding strategy so you really stand out and people can see you. Who is this program for? I am looking for change makers. I'm looking for visionaries. I'm looking for tribal leaders and social entrepreneurs. The reason why is because my mission in life as a mentor, as a coach, is to empower as many people as possible on this planet who want to make a difference, not just to themselves and their families, but to others as well. And we can all do this through the sharing of our messages, how we share our experiences, how we build our businesses or lose our businesses. Every single person has got a message. What is your message? So, in today's webinar, I'm going to share with you how I landed 5 TED Talks. I have 3 TED Talks online. The 2 I didn't attend, one fell on the date of my wedding, and the second one fell on my daughter's wedding, so I couldn't attend those. And it's been really fascinating being able to share my message on a global platform where I'm not only speaking to one person, but to millions. I'm also going to share with you how I wrote my first book, how I became an international speaker, and how I created my own speaking platform that is geared primarily to women from all over the world. I'll also share with you a little bit about the results that some of my clients have been having. So, every single presentation, every talk you can put together can be presented as a story. You know, sometimes you can be trained technically to speak to perfection. You can go to Toastmasters and know how to say every single line perfectly. But what I'm finding with most of my clients is that they're failing to have that heart-to-heart connection. They're failing to deliver their speeches with authenticity and to come off as a one-off person, like there's no one else in the world like you. And that's what I would love to share with you. So there is an art to every single story, every single presentation you will ever give. And the typical model is that there are 3 parts to a story. Just like writing a book, writing a small little story, you have an act 1, act 2, and act 3. In the beginning of your speech is the setup, where you're giving people information about what you're going to be talking about. In the middle of your speech is all the action, the things that happen to you, the ups, the downs, the successes, the failures. And at the end of your presentation is the resolution. It's where people can actually find how they can do what you've done, or you give them a call to action so they can go away and find what they're looking for in their lives. So that's your typical arch of a story. So in my investigating the best ways to deliver my presentations, I started attending a lot of conferences. I enrolled a lot of mentors. I've been coached by people like Mark Victor Hansen and Jack Canfield. The 2 people who wrote Chicken Soup of the Soul are my coaches and my mentors and friends. I ended up on stage in London in the Palladium Theatre with Bob Proctor from The Secret, with John DeMartini. I even had an opportunity to speak in California in Reverend Michael Beckwith's church, the largest spiritual gathering in California. And life has been really, really interesting since then. What I have discovered, though, is that delivering a perfect presentation is a science. A lot of times we write a speech and we think we've kind of got the gist of what we want to talk about, but we miss a lot by not having a proper structure. And there is a secret to how to structure the best presentations in the world. I found an interesting TED Talk. I spend hours and hours on TED every single day. I do it for a number of reasons. 1, I try and find something that inspires me every day. 2, I try to see the best speakers on TED, how they present, how they put across their ideas. I also try and see how I can rewrite my presentations and speeches so that I can be more effective, especially when I'm presenting online. Do Google a TED Talk called The Secret Structure of Great Talks. It is amazing. The lady who put together this TED Talk discovered that the best orators in the world have a rhythm in how they write their speeches. She literally mapped out speeches by J.F. Kennedy, Barack Obama, President Barack Obama, every single great orator has a rhythm of how they write their speeches. The I Have a Dream speech is a fascinating case study. If you haven't watched that video, watch it again. But every great orator takes you on a roller coaster ride of emotions. They start off with the status quo of what is, and then they show you the dream of what can be. They then come back to the current reality of what is, and they take you up again to what could be. And the presentation can be mapped out like a graph where it starts here, it goes slowly across, it goes up to the possibility, it stabilizes, it comes down to the current reality, takes you on that journey, takes you back again at possibility. And at the very end, you get the new bliss of the possibility of what can come from what this person is presenting. So these are some of the things that I coach my students to understand and to learn. And my mission and my vision is to help mentor, coach, support as many women as possible from all over the world to stand up on stage and use their voices. I believe that this is a time for us to infuse a much needed feminine energy in the world. The world's stages are filled with men who are masquerading as inspirational speakers, but 9 times out of 10, you listen to them and their presentations and speeches fall flat because they don't speak from the heart. They can be technically perfect in how they deliver, but they fail to have that heart-to-heart connection with people. So speaking from the heart is all about how can you connect and make the person listening to you in every given moment to feel exactly what you've gone through and understand who you are about. So the coaching is tailored to meet your specific needs. And everything I teach, I try it on myself first, and then I coach my clients to do the same thing. And you'll be getting years and years of my coaching from the best orators from all over the world, the best mentors, and the best coaches as well. So, who is this training for? Speakers who want to inspire and empower others through their stories. Presenters who are technically perfectly trained, but are failing to have that authentic connection with others. People who are looking for speaking opportunities, especially first-time speakers, who are looking for the help and looking for the support to have their voices be heard. And what really inspires me the most is working with change makers, people who want to make a difference and who want to fulfill their particular life purpose by sharing their message and their story. So, is this you? If it is, hang in there because I'm going to have a lot of nuggets of wisdom to share with you today. And if you stay right up until the end, you will get a free copy of my new book called Speaking from the Heart, where I basically help you find your message, refine your message, pitch yourself, and speak. So let's move on. I'll share with you a little bit about who I really am. So my name is Gertrude Mache. I live here in Wellington, New Zealand, and I have a passion for helping people to achieve their full potential and find their individual life purpose and make a social impact. I'm the founder and the global curator of the Her Story Women's Global Empowerment Circle, and I have written several books. I've already mentioned I'm a 3-time TED speaker, and I coach and mentor people both offline and online as well. I have had amazing speaking opportunities, not just here in New Zealand, in the United States, in Norway, Germany, Switzerland, right across the globe. I have had speaking opportunities, and it all started off with my personal journey where I wrote my first book. And I started giving presentations and talks as a way to try and sell my book. Before I knew it, I would speak for free in social networking groups like Rotary clubs or Lions clubs. They all have meetings every single week in every single city across the planet. And they look for guest speakers. That's how I started. And I had a mission to sell 100 copies of my book every single month, which I would meet. But I would go with a bunch of business cards and hand them out. And before I knew it, people were passing on my cards to conference organizers or to somebody in their organization who was responsible for looking for speakers. And then everything scaled from there. In July last year, I decided to create my own speaking platform. I had gone through a separation and a divorce and ended up with congestive heart failure. In fact, I collapsed of heart failure in Bali, Indonesia in June 2017. And in my recovery, I ended up meeting my amazing husband. I remarried, and he bought me an electric bike so I could try and lose some weight, get fit, get my blood pressure under control. I remember I was biking all the way to the city one day, and I was knocked off my bike by a male biker coming from the opposite direction. And I fell onto oncoming traffic and almost died again. You know, I've been asking myself why I'm still here. I've had a few narrow misses with death, and every single time I seem to find a way to bounce back. But I realized that accident was an energetic hit. Something had physically stopped me in my tracks. There was something I was supposed to get. And I went back into my meditation, and I would ask myself every single day the question, what is my next step? What is my next step? And my idea came like an A4 piece of paper with silos of women sitting in circles in groups of 10. And there were lines that went out, and there was another 10, and lines that went out and another 10. And I posted on Facebook a few months ago that if I was to host a conference in 1,000 locations around the world, who would be interested? Within 48 hours, I had 1,500 women in 380 locations from all over the world who responded. I was fortunate that I did have a good following on Facebook. I had people who would friend me if I spoke at a conference or if I gave a presentation or a talk. And it was the most fascinating thing I have ever done. I'm really happy that we have on the call today a good friend of mine who is coming all the way from California. Brigitte, thank you for coming online. And we met in Las Vegas, where we launched our first conference. From Las Vegas, we had a conference here in Wellington. From Wellington, we had a conference in Sydney. Beginning of 2020, I headed off to Norway, had a conference in Oslo, had one in Hertfordshire, UK. Then I had a conference in New York. And then COVID-19 started to become a problem. I had to cancel events in Toronto, Vancouver, Los Angeles, Melbourne, Brisbane. I did end up coming back to New Zealand and having another conference in Auckland and one in Hamilton. And in every single one of these conferences, we had 100 speakers, women who are now part of my movement, who want to make a difference in the world, who want to be mentored, who want to be coached. And it has been fascinating. When COVID-19 happened, I thought it was the worst thing that could happen to me. I had 15 events lined up just for the first quarter of 2020, and everything had to come to a standstill. But what's fascinating is that I realized that there was an opportunity for me to turn my business around and start connecting with people more online than in person. And that's what I've been doing for the last 4 months. So today isn't about me. Today is all about you and how I can be of service to you and what training is going to help you achieve your results. So, why are you not getting the speaking opportunities that you would want to get? What I found when I went through coaching to get on TED, my first TED talk, I winged it. I just applied online. It was the first event here in Wellington, New Zealand. I got picked, very fortunately, with no coaching and no training. And I delivered that speech, I think, almost 9 years ago. When I realized that I had missed a golden opportunity to really get my message across, I looked for a mentor, I looked for a coach, and he showed me my blind spots. So all of us have a message. We know what we know, but we don't know how to fully put it across. I wrote a book called Born on the Continent Ubuntu, and the underlying message in my book, although it's a memoir, is an African philosophy called Ubuntu. It's spelled Ubuntu. If you Google the word Ubuntu, you will find Linux software. What people don't realize is that the Ubuntu Linux software or operating system is based on an African philosophy, and it was never properly acknowledged. So I wrote a personal story. I wove my story around the philosophy to illustrate what the philosophy is all about. And Ubuntu ngamuntu ngabantu says a person is only a person through other people. It talks about humanity and how we are so intertwined and connected that there is no you and there is no me. There's only we. So I've been trying to find different ways of explaining this philosophy. And accidentally, by mistake, I managed to brand myself as an Ubuntu expert. Before I knew it, my little presentations crossed over from mainstream presenting to academic. Ubuntu is taught in social anthropology in universities all over the world. And guess who people find online? Because of my TED Talk, it's me. So I managed to create a digital footprint online where people find me as an authority around the subject matter. So, what is your story? What is your idea worth spreading? Why are you failing to get that idea across to other people? It's because you are not clear. You're not clear of how to get from here to there. And what I want to do is to share with you a few secrets that people fail to realize when they put themselves forward as a presenter to a conference, to an organization. Secret number one, are you pitching yourself with content that is relevant to your clients? The relevancy of your message is absolutely important because unless you're relevant to the theme of the conference or to the theme that the organization that is hiring you is tailored for, they will not pick you. So that's number one. Understanding what your clients or potential clients are actually looking for. Number two, do you stand out? What is your unique selling point? What makes you different from everybody else in the world who's talking about your subject matter? Do you have a methodology? Do you have a process that you can teach? Do you have insights that you can share? Are you really clear about that? And number three, are you being consistent in sharing your knowledge and your skills? A lot of people think that they can just show up and say, I'm a speaker, I talk about property investing. And if somebody Googles you online, they find one video. So your consistency is really important. And in creating that persona that you are an authority on your subject, are you blogging? Are you speaking online? Are you putting out your own personal vlogs online? This is why I'm saying that right now we have an opportunity to use the internet to the maximum. There are hundreds and hundreds of people online right now looking for inspiration, looking for interesting people to have to present in their organizations. And one of the things that I found very recently is that universities are looking. Parents are looking for people to coach and mentor their kids online. It's not just big organizations, it's individuals. I have clients that I've coached right now to do simple things like reading stories to children online. Do you realize that as a storyteller, there is a demand for you in this very moment to entertain children, coach them, teach them, so you can give the parents an hour or 2 hours of free time? There is a huge opportunity. So, how do you bridge that gap to get from where you are right now to where you want to go? You bridge that gap by getting coaching, by getting mentoring, by getting really 100% clear. What is my message? What is my purpose? What is my life purpose? What makes me want to wake up every single day and do what I do and share, inspire, uplift, and empower? So I help you refine that message. I help you refine that story. And then you become that person who's making a difference. You become that person who is effective when you stand up on stage. I also show all of my speakers how to write and publish their own books on Amazon and Kindle. Do you know when I wrote my first book, I became a completely different person. Just being able to string up those 250 pages of text gave me credibility in terms of who I was as a professional, as a speaker. I've made more money by selling my books than the actual speaking fee that I get. And the coaching and mentoring that I have received from other people is what has got me to where I am right now. I help people gain credibility and visibility on and offline. And I also help you develop that digital footprint and develop your personal branding so nobody can ever doubt who you are, what you do, and how you do what you do. So these are the bridges that I help you build to get you from here to there. So let me share with you a few things that have been the biggest transformational experiences that I have ever had. One of the biggest things that I found for most speakers is that people don't know their value. Do you actually know how much you should be charging for your presentation or talk? Do you know what the industry is actually offering right now? Do you know how to find opportunities like being on podcasts? Podcasting is huge. There are hundreds of podcast organizers who are looking for people to interview every single day, right across the globe. How are you going to reach them? How are you going to pitch to them so you can get those opportunities? And once you get on the podcast, do you know how to monetize that experience? Do you know how to get people to come and follow you on all of your social media platforms? Do you know how to enroll them into your courses? I was taught how to sell without selling from the best public speakers in the world. Now, the magic that you will learn through this amazing program called Speaking from the Heart is how to sell without selling. When people see your value and they see the difference that you can make in other people's lives, you can enroll them in anything that you have to promote or market. My mother used to say that people buy from people they like. A lot of times people go on stage and they put on a mask and they front. They will articulate to perfection. They will have their makeup to perfection, their clothing, but they don't get through to their audience and they wonder why. The Heart Math Foundation has done experiments. Do you realize that The human heart has got a magnetic field that spans the full length of your hands. You give out a vibration that other people can actually feel, whether you're talking to them one-on-one, or whether you're on stage, or whether you're online right now. A lot of people who meet me always say, Gertrude, I feel like I've known you all my life. The reason is because I've learned to take off my masks. If I make a mistake while I'm presenting, I don't try and cover it up and pretend I didn't make a mistake. If I find that I have mispronounced a word, because English is not my first language, I apologize for it. And because I am open to being vulnerable, I've learned that it is my biggest strength. One of the things that I have done in this time during the COVID-19 lockdown is to personally just go back within myself and find peace and healing. I recently lost my mother during COVID-19. It has been a very, very trying time. In fact, I lost two mothers because my mother-in-law died 3 weeks before my mom at the end of March, and 3 weeks later, my own mother passed away. And I literally had to get off online and just refocus on me and try and get my head clear as to what was happening in my life. And in this time, I managed to gain a lot of clarity, and that's the other gift that COVID-19 is giving everybody on the planet. It's time for us to reprioritize what you really want out of life, what you really want to do with the rest of your speaking career. Is this going to be something that you do part-time once in a while when you get an opportunity to speak, or is it going to be something that you will do for the rest of your life? I'm wanting to enroll those speakers who see this as an opportunity to change careers. You might have gone through a separation, a divorce, you might have lost a loved one, and you've got a story to share. We change the world through our stories. Every personal experience that we go through, I believe we go through it so we can teach, we become teachers, and we become mentors. So what is it for you that you are going to give? So in this program, there are a number of modules that I will take you through. Step by step, I will coach and I will mentor you to get so clear who you are. I get you to understand what is my message. I get you to decide how to articulate that message and to commit to it. Having that crystal clear clarity helps you develop more content around the same subject matter. So for example, with my presentation, if you go online, you'll find my 3 TED Talks. The first one is called Born on the Continent Ubuntu. And in that first presentation, I shared my personal journey, my personal story. In the next TED Talk, I decided to use the IT technology. It's called Ubuntu 2.0, and it's called Humanity's Operating System. So because a lot of technical geeks will go online and try and find Ubuntu, the software, my presentation is called Ubuntu 2.0. So I get a lot of IT people getting in touch with me, actually surprised that they didn't know what Ubuntu really means. My third presentation is Ubuntu 3.0, and it's called We Are the Help We've Been Waiting For. And I try and help people realize that we are part of the world's problems. We are part of the solution. And it's up to every single individual to decide why they're on this planet, what difference are they going to make in the world before they die. So I'm creating a body of knowledge around the same subject, and I'm becoming an authority on it. So I help you write and develop your presentation and your talk. How to title your presentation is very important. A lot of people don't realize this, that a presentation title is like a headline in a newspaper. It's the first thing that somebody reads when they ask you to come and give a presentation or a talk. So what is that headline? Is it a headline that can go viral, that can make people curious to want to know more? So crafting a viral presentation title is absolutely crucial. And then you become an expert in your field. Now, I was not an expert when I started talking about Ubuntu. It's part of my African culture. It's part of my heritage. It's part of something I grew up with and I know really well. But until I started explaining it, I started finding different ways to explain it. So every single time I'm asked to come and give a presentation or a talk, I find out the theme of that particular organization. Like right now, I'm working on a presentation on leadership, and it's going to be focused on Ubuntu leadership, how African people from my part of the world lead. And now I'm speaking at a leadership conference in August. I started writing the content before the opportunity came up, but because I was ready, I was able to pitch myself to that conference and I managed to get a speaking slot. So becoming an expert in your field is something I'll help you define. I'll also help you understand what TED organizers are looking for. So when they look for people, they get hundreds and hundreds of applications. And there's very specific things that they will tick off a checklist. And if you meet that criteria, you get the opportunity to speak. If you don't even have the opportunity to go forwards. So understanding what they're looking for, how to apply and land your first TED Talk. The application process for TED is standard right across the globe. And if you know how to pitch yourself to one TED organization and you get in, you can do it to the next one and the next one and the next one. And the beautiful thing about speaking on TED is even if you're invited to speak in a small town, the TED branding puts you in a class of your own. People look at you differently if you've managed to get onto the TED platform. And even if there's 5 people in the room, when you deliver that speech, speak as if you are talking to millions of people, just like I'm doing right now. This particular video is being live streamed to YouTube. It's being live streamed to Facebook. I have people on Zoom who have tuned in tonight. I am speaking to millions. So don't ever underestimate the size of people who are in the room when you speak. When you're delivering to one, remember one person knows at least 250 other people. I know there's some of you out there who are going to go and tell your friends that you came online tonight, you found this interesting live talk, and you will refer people to this particular video. So always remember when you're speaking online, you are speaking to millions. And almost every single platform has got these live opportunities for you to speak, whether it's Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, LinkedIn has got it now. Where are you positioning yourself as an expert? Use these platforms and I'll show you how. So once you've applied and landed your TED Talk, I help you practice. I became an expert at speaking because of my father. God bless his soul. My dad died almost two years ago. And I remember when I was 16, going on 17, my father would force me to go and apply for jobs, but not take the jobs. So I grew up in Zimbabwe. It was Rhodesia at the time. We had racial segregation. We were under the British rule, and blacks and whites didn't mix. And my father said to me, Gertrude, when you want to get your first job, you need to be confident. You need to stand up in front of white people and speak. So I would go and apply for jobs and not take the jobs. It was the craziest thing I've ever done. But when I look back now at what that taught me, it helped me overcome the fear to speak in public. They say one of the biggest fears that every single human being on the planet has is the fear of speaking in public. And here we are, speaking to millions through an invisible channel called the internet. A lot of people don't even know how to do this. They're scared of doing this. But it comes from practice. Because when you practice, it's like a muscle. And the more you do it, the better you get, the more you do it. It's like being an athlete who's trying to run the 100-meter dash. They practice. They start at the beginning of the line and they see themselves getting across the finishing line. And that's what I will do for you as your mentor and your coach. I'll help you get to your goal and your destination. Once your speech is delivered, what do you do with it? It's not enough to get up on stage, to get up on a TED platform and speak. You want to get that video to go viral. You want to get your message to go further than you did when you were in that room delivering that speech. So I've developed techniques, I've developed tools, I have research platforms where you can share your own content and get your message to be amplified by other people who share your same values, who enjoy your content, who are searching for you and who are looking for your message. So getting your video to spread and go viral is something else that I offer with my coaching and my training. So I am wanting now to break for a little bit and get you to ask me questions. So Bridget, I have you online. Please unmute yourself. What has actually come up for you during this presentation?
Gertrude, I think it's a lot of you teach is, and I have a lot of training in speaking and story creating and everything, and I love your message. I think it's a very powerful message, particularly for new speakers who doesn't has a lot of training and everything. It's very interesting that you said one of the number one fear people has is public speaking.
Yes.
I must say I'm very grateful. I'm trained since the age of 9 to not have that fear.
That's wonderful. So what inspired you to come online? You're one person that I know is constantly looking for training, information. What was your inspiration to join us tonight?
Well, my main inspiration is because I always love your message. You always have something inspiring and something wonderful, and so I mainly want to know what you have and what other inspiring thing. And also, I mean, we always learn. Even I'm one of those people that says even when you're walking down the road, you learn something, right? And
yes.
so it's something. It's always great to connect with you. Always great to learn what you're up to, as well as to see if to see if there is something that I learned. But it's also to I always I admire your work greatly. The Ubuntu. I might mispronounce this Ubuntu 2.0,
yes.
which I know, and then the 3.0 is which actually new to me. For some reasons I thought I know that part, but that's a great thing, and I think you teach us a lot of wonderful thing, which and actually give me an inspirations on my own work with grief. When you mentioned about the HeartMath Foundations, I'm familiar with them.
Yes.
But also and that's very true what you say, just our energy field. But what comes to me is to use it more in terms of using people to help people with grief, which is my main work, is to help people thrive through challenges and changes and tough times and win with more ease and fun. And it's just like, why didn't I think about using some of the tools and principles from HeartMath Foundation to help people with that?
Yes. Yeah, there is an opportunity right now, especially with grief counseling. COVID-19 has touched people right across the globe. I'm actually working on a grief counseling program myself. I found that through processing what I have gone through, because I've lost two parents in less than 2 years. It's been a very, very trying time. And there is so much pain in this time that we're living through. This is the second pandemic that I've actually lived through myself. And having helped mentor and coach women in Africa whose children had died of AIDS, I find myself again back to doing the same thing in a completely different environment. So you're very right. This is an opportunity for any coaches, any psychologists, anybody out there who is really wanting to make a difference in other people's lives during this hard time, to develop a program that you can help reach out to millions using this invisible platform. So I'm really glad that you've managed to tap into that.
Yeah, and you know what you say just now is very true about having a clear message. There are so many people that says, you know, for instance, I want to empower people, or I want to empower women, or something in that aspect, which is absolutely wonderful. But how you are going, what makes you unique between you and the next person who also want to empower somebody, and what's your signature style? Like with me, my signature style is to be able to thrive through changes and tough times and win with ease and fun. Everything that I do, I love fun. So
I love it.
My colleague and clients and friends point out, you know, somehow she's able to mix in grief with fun. Like,
well, if you can do that, you can survive life, right? Because life is not a constant. Life has got those ups and those downs and those ups and those downs. And I think I got to a point where I told myself that I had to decide how long I wanted to stay down.
Exactly.
And to get out of that state of depression and sadness that I've been experiencing over the last few weeks, and get up and go back to inspiring other people. So you're very, very right there.
Oh, it's funny that I do Facebook Live practically every day, and I just say that actually in my Facebook Live today. You can be in whatever state you are, but when you focus, when you shift your energy from being dragged down, and you choose with gratitude to give in the face of adversity, it's actually not only it's the best gift, GIFT, that you give to other people, but also and it could be time, could be attention, could be love, but it's also actually lift ourselves up, just like you said. You know, you focus, you're like, I'm down here and I want to get up there, and like just like you said, it's so true. You know, to give yourself to the better good, to the you know, to the good for all, and that's you know, that's very true. That will help us feel better immediately, and
it's instant.
That anyway, so you know, there you go. That's the fun part.
Now, I had a few questions that were emailed through to me this morning that I just want to answer. There were a few people who weren't going to make the call. One of the questions that I was asked was, how do I find my message? Very, very simple question, but very, very difficult to answer. Now, I believe that we are all born with a message. We are all born with knowledge, with skills, with something we're supposed to leave in the world. And it has to be something that you are so passionate about, you could do it 24/7 for the rest of your life. So your message lies in your passion. What is the one thing that you do naturally, without being taught, without being told how to do it, that comes intuitively, with no training, with no coaching? If you can find what that is and show other people how you do it, then you found your life purpose. Then you found the reason why you're on this planet. As a child, I was punished for speaking. I was that little girl at the back of the school classroom who was yakking and talking and joking and being a clown. And I used to be punished for it. Now I get paid to speak. $15,000 for a 1-hour keynote. It's just been an absolutely incredible life experience. So you find your message through the things that you're passionate about. So whatever it is that you do intuitively without thinking, that is where your message lies. And I will help you find it. Another question that came from another lady was, how do I overcome the fear of speaking in public and especially speaking in large groups? Again, I have to go back and thank my father for all of his teachings. I started doing drama and public speaking when I was in high school, and I was terrified. And when I did my first speech, I think it was in front of 200 or 300 people in a school hall. I was performing really well in public speaking. I was winning all of the competitions. I ended up at the age of 16 competing with 18-year-olds. And I remember on that one day being absolutely petrified. And my father said to me, Gertrude, imagine everybody in the front row naked. He said, we all come into this world with no clothes on and we will all leave without any clothes on. Imagine everybody is naked and just realize they're human beings just like you. And it got really funny because that was the first thing I would do when I got on stage. And immediately I would smile and almost start to laugh, just visualizing the picture of the front row in every single hall or stage that I was in who are naked. And you feel the fear and you do it anyway. Why do we do this? It's because we are passionate about our craft. We are passionate about what we do. So feel the fear and do it anyway. They say that everything you want is on the other side of fear. And once you break that fear barrier once, you can do it a second time, you can do it a third time, you can do it a fourth and a fifth time. Some of my best coaches, people like Jack Canfield, taught me how to speak in front of my first 5,000 people event. And he said to me, Gertrude, you have to work the room and look to your left and realize that there's somebody on the left, there's someone in the middle, there's someone on the right. Work it in chunks of 10 people here, 10 people there, 10 people there. If there's 5,000 people in the room, say 500 here, 500 there, 500 there. And just remember to speak as if you're talking to one person who's right in front of you. Because if you can get through to that one person in front of you, you can get through to the 5,000 in that room. So overcoming fear is one of the biggest things that make it really difficult for people to stand up in front of people and speak. So, Bridget, unless you have any other questions, any other comments, we will end today's webinar. If you are interested, I will put my contact details with this video. Get in touch with me to find out about this program. I have got some amazing bonuses that I am offering people who are signing up today. One of those bonuses is that you get to learn how to write your own book. I developed a process called How to Write a Book in 40 Hours because every single speaker needs to have a book. The minute you publish a book, you have instant credibility when you are published. It not only gives you something else to sell when you give your presentations and talks, but you can develop a workshop out of your book. You can develop a board game if you're a business mentor or a coach and you're teaching people about business. You can repurpose your content into multiple products. You can end up writing a screenplay and turning your personal story into a movie. So these are some of the aspects that I bring to the table as a coach. I show you how to create a business. So you're not just a speaker. It's not just you standing on stage and speaking. I also show people how to create their own tribes, how to create your own events. Then you start hiring speakers. My platform is called the Her Story Women's Global Empowerment Circle. And like I said in the beginning, we've had events in over 15 locations in less than a year. People are hungry right now to have their voices be heard. So I will share my email details at the bottom of the contents. Get in touch with me. Thank you to everybody who has tuned in. Thank you for investing in yourself and taking time to come online tonight and learn. You have these two options. You can do nothing right now, and your life will stay exactly the same as it was yesterday. Or you can jump right in, connect with me. Let's work together. Let's help you get the results that you deserve. Because life is what you make it. I read a quote in a book this morning that said, if you want something to change, move. You're not a tree. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Keep in touch and do share this message if you know someone out there who wants to learn how to speak, who wants to get on the TED platform. Get in touch with me, Google my name, go online. You will find hundreds of videos that I've put out there, speaking, sharing my ideas. Thank you again for tuning in. Thank you so much, Bridget, for being on the line.
You're very welcome. My pleasure.